When a judge tries to sneak a guy out the back door who ICE is looking to arrest, that has nothing to do with enforcement of the law. In fact, it's just the opposite. The arrest of this judge in Milwaukee is leading many on the left and many in the media to, in my view, make the mistake of lumping this case in with the Trump administration's other fights with the courts. Headline from the Washington Post: Judge's arrest is latest in Trump's battle with the courts. The Guardian: the authoritarian playbook. Trump targets judges, lawyers, and the law itself. This one from Alliance for Justice: arrest of judge is Trump administration's latest attack on the rule of law. NBC News: arrest of judge triggers public outrage as Trump escalates his war on the judiciary. This is not comparable to the rest of the issues that are arising with regard to the courts. Why? Because in those cases, in all the other cases, we're talking about judges who are trying to enforce the law, and in certain cases, the Trump administration may not like the judge's rulings. That is not a reason to disregard a judge's ruling because you don't like it. And that is what, at least, is being suggested. In certain cases, it seems being implemented when the Trump administration is going after law firms and saying, we don't like the position you're taking on cases, so we're going to target you. Those are real problems. When a judge tries to sneak a guy out the back door who ICE is looking to arrest, that has nothing to do with enforcement of the law. In fact, it's just the opposite. And I think many on the left, many in the media, many in the legal world are doing a grave disservice to these issues, these other issues, by lumping it all in together. So let's take a step back and talk about what this case was actually about, right? And we now have the arrest warrant, et cetera. All right, so first of all, the guy who's in court, right? His name is Mr. Flores Ruiz. He's a Mexican national. He's at the court on April 18th for a hearing on 3 misdemeanor battery charges, apparently stemming from an incident that happened in March. Records show he got into a fight with his roommate, who had asked him to turn down the music he was playing. The roommates said that Flores Ruiz struck him about 30 times and also hit the roommate's girlfriend and her cousin. Federal officials were looking to arrest him, though, for a different reason. He also faces a federal illegal re-entry charge. He was deported from the United States in January of 2013 under an order of expedited removal, those who cross the border without proper documentation. His lawyer, Martin Pruz, said he returned to the country after he was deported and said he's been living in Milwaukee for the last 12 years. There were 6 federal officers from 4 agencies who were there. So what happened? Okay. April 18th. They go to the Milwaukee courthouse to arrest him. Before the hearing, a lawyer apparently told Judge Dugan that there were agents from ICE there at the courthouse. That's according to the criminal complaint. She apparently called the situation absurd and left the bench. Okay, that is her prerogative. She can think it's absurd. She can say it's absurd. Judge Dugan then speaks with the federal agents, telling them they need a judicial warrant and to speak with the chief judge of Milwaukee County. Based on the way this has been characterized by, again, the people who view this as the end of the rule of law, would have you believe, oh, they just go in and blast past her and go arrest this guy. No, it's not what happened. It's not what happened. One of the officers then goes and talks to the chief judge, just as they were asked to do. The chief judge is a guy named Carl Ashley, who tells the officers that there was a policy where in the courthouse, ICE agents have to abide by certain rules. He, quote, emphasized that such action should not take place in courtrooms or other private locations. The chief judge apparently told the agent that the hallways were areas where an arrest could be made. As the defendant and his lawyer left the courtroom, according to a courtroom deputy who overheard the interaction, Judge Dugan told them, "Wait, come with me." The deputy then sees her usher him through a door that leads to a, quote, non-public area of the courthouse. Agents then see him and his lawyer in a hallway. One agent goes in the elevator with them, watches them leave the building, doesn't immediately make the arrest. Other agents arrest him on the street after a foot chase. A week later, the FBI comes back and arrests Judge Dugan at the courthouse. She's arrested for obstructing immigration officers and concealing someone to prevent an arrest. Now, do I think that the arrest of her at the courthouse was performative? Yes. Do I think they needed to go and make a spectacle about arresting her? No. But I don't view it as a war on the judiciary to prosecute a judge who is helping someone evade justice, if it's true. Now, again, you can decide you don't agree with the Trump administration's policies. Fair enough. But my point with regard to these judges always is, it's not up to us to decide whether we agree. The judges are doing their best to enforce the law. You can disagree with a judge's ruling. You can criticize a judge's ruling. But the Trump administration cannot defy court rulings. They can appeal. They can ask the Supreme Court in the end to reverse it. But where I have been critical of the administration has been on the fact that I have been concerned that they're right on that border of defying court orders. And some people talking about impeaching judges for simply ruling in cases is insanity. But in this case, if what the arrest report indicates is true, this judge did violate the law. Maybe it's a law she doesn't agree with. But my whole point is that there is an elevated standard for judges. We have to treat judges with a bit more respect and respect their rulings. But this isn't a ruling. That's the difference here. This is a judge sneaking someone out the back door. And you know what else? This has happened before. In 2018, a Massachusetts State District Court judge, Shelley Joseph, and a court officer were accused of helping an undocumented migrant sneak out of the Newton District Court in Newton, Massachusetts, before ICE could detain him. The guy was arrested on narcotics charges, had been deported from the U.S. twice. That judge, in 2018, was indicted by federal prosecutors on charges of conspiracy to obstruct justice and obstruction of justice and pleaded not guilty. Had formal charges filed with the state's highest court. That's a big deal. That's telling you that the court system itself was taking this seriously. So please spare me the sort of, oh, this is just another example of the administration. No, it's not. It's a completely different example. And I think it is really dangerous for the media and the left and the legal community to say, oh, this is just another example of the war on judges. No.